and I'm your English trainer for today. Before getting right into the video, I want to ask you two simple questions. 1. Do you identify as someone who finds it really difficult to use proper English words in a sentence? Or are you someone perhaps who has planned it all out in their head, but when you're talking to someone, it just comes out wrong? You start speaking a lot of sentences with energy, but they somehow just seem to be grammatically wrong. I'm sure many of you have faced similar situations, and that's the reason why you're here today for this video. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Our video for today is going to be all about giving you 5 quick simple tips on how you can start increasing your English fluency today. And those 5 tips are, which we will be discussing across this video, are going to be: number 1, increasing vocabulary; number 2, framing correct sentences; number 3, functional grammar; number 4, reading a lot of English; number 5, speaking a lot of English; and of course the most important tip of all, which completely depends on you, is going to be practicing English. So now that we know all these tips, let's get into each of these one by one and see how we can start using these tips to improve our fluency. The first tip: increasing vocabulary. Now, before getting into how we can increase our vocabulary, let's take a minute and figure out where you stand in your current level, at your level of vocabulary. How many words do you use on a continual basis? How many words do you tend to go back to? Are there any comfort words that you keep using on a day-to-day basis? Start by listing out all those words and see whether you can come up to 100 words. Take a minute and go ahead and do that right away. Once you're done with listing out all the words, count it out and see. Is it coming up to 100? If not, try to increase the vocabulary to 100 common words that you could use every single day. How would you do that? So take a look around. See the things, see the activities, see the people. Observe and figure out what is happening around you every single day. And when you start thinking about all those activities, observing a lot of these situations, you will find out that there are so many new words that you can come across. When you figure out all those new words, start noting it down and keep it as your word bank. Now, this word bank is going to be very, very important even for the rest of the tips throughout this video. And I'll tell you how just in a minute. So if you're done with this activity, then keep that aside and let's move on to the next tip, which is framing correct sentences. Now, this is where a lot of us have similar problems, where we try to get out a sentence, but we go grammatically wrong somewhere. Now, how do we get rid of that? I'll tell you how. First of all, do you remember the word bank that we just created a while ago? So refer back to those words that you have in your word bank, and first of all, try to simply place the words together and see if you can get some meaning out of it. Are you able to do that? Are you able to simply communicate with someone with just the words that you have learned? The answer to this is yes, I'm sure. But does that make it a grammatically correct sentence? Well, not really. But first, if you're able to frame proper sentences, then we've got at least half the task done right there. Then, let's move on to the third tip, which is functional grammar. Now, here is where the real magic starts happening. Now, you're able to figure out the words, you have an entire word bank with you, you know how to place them in sentences, but you don't know whether it's correct. This is where a very important task will be played by something called filler words, connecting words. These are the words that help you make sure that your sentences are grammatically correct and it provides the same meaning that you intend to the person who is actually listening to you in a conversation. Let me quickly give you an example. I can say, I go to market. Now, as simple as that sentence is, Yes, it does communicate what I'm trying to say, but is it grammatically correct? Are you able to understand 100% what I'm intending to say? That could be a probably 50-50 answer. So let's not stick around with that confusion. Let's make sure that if someone else is listening to my sentence, I hope they get the same meaning which I want them to understand. So instead of saying I go to market, I could probably say I am going to the market. So if you see here in this sentence, there are a lot of things which I have added which make it much more meaningful and which give the complete explanation of what I'm trying to tell the other person. Try framing similar sentences on your own. If you were using words simply in a sentence up till now, think about the different connector words that you could probably use. To, the, and, yes, all these words. Try putting them into sentences and you will see that your fluency has dramatically increased. And you know what? We are not even at the last few points yet. So if you're able to do this, you will be able to clearly understand what the other person is saying as well. That of course leads us to our next point, which is reading a lot of English. So read a lot. Try to look at a lot of different books, different magazines. Let's say you're browsing your phone. Why don't you check out different articles? See if you come across a lot of different words. Now remember the word bank we discussed a few moments back? That word bank will be your go-to guide at every stage of this video. So every time you come across something new, every time you read about a new word, you come across something that you've not done before, make sure you note it down again in your word bank. If you're doing that correctly, we can now move on to the next step, which is listening. Listening to a lot of English. That is also something that complements reading, because this is an added step that helps us with pronunciation. When we listen to a lot of English, let's say in the form of shows which we see on TV, English shows, English series, we can look at news programs, we can watch a lot of English movies, anything that has a lot of English in it, because it can teach us the exact pronunciation of certain words, which maybe we wouldn't be able to do if we just read those words. So as much as reading is important, listening to it is very important, because we understand how those words are meant to sound like. Now we have come to the absolute last stage, which is practice. Practice. Try to use different ways of these things that you've learned, the new words that you've come across, that you've been accumulating in your word bank. Try using these words in conversations with your friend, with your neighbor, somebody new that you come across. Try introducing yourself in English and look and see whether you're able to actually maintain correct grammatical sentences. Are you using your connector words properly? Is the other person able to understand exactly what you're intending to say? In fact, even try thinking in English. Have you tried that yet? The same thoughts that you have could be something which will be in English even before you say those words. So that's an added benefit for you. So these were the 5 most important tips. I'm sure if you've been following this video very carefully, you have noted all the points down and you're definitely going to practice it after this video ends too. So this is how simple increasing your fluency in English can actually be. And I hope you will all become very fluent English speakers soon by using all these tips that we have provided in this video today. Thank you so much.